Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to BRAP. It is Wednesday, January the 14th. We're back at our regular scheduled time at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. Great to be back. Hope everyone had a great weekend. And hope you had some fun playing video games. What's up, Ghostface Killer? What's up, Lady Games 1980, or Lady Gamer, I should say. Great to see you in the live chat. But please do me a favor. Let everyone know that we're live. I'm going to drop a link here in the live chat. Please share it on your favorite social media platform, X, Twitter, all right, they're the same thing, Facebook, whatever, wherever you hang out. Wherever you hang out at. Yeah, hopefully everyone had a great weekend. Hopefully had some fun playing video games. As always, I'm watching professional wrestling here on the side on my my OLED. I realize I need a new PC monitor, by the way. But I've been gaming. What's up, AC Gaming? I've actually been gaming. I do primarily game. PC game on my 65-inch LG OLED C1, and went back today and was playing some Red Dead Redemption 2. If you haven't been listening to the show, I actually played Red Dead Redemption 1 again, and played it on PS5 Pro, and it's probably the first time I played Red Dead in, probably 14 years, something like that. And so completed it and decided that I said, you know what? I'm going to go back now that I've completed Red Dead 1. I'm going to go back and play Red Dead 2 again. So decided to go back and jump into Red Dead Redemption 2, which I have on PC. And because I didn't when Red Dead 2 came out about 8 years ago now, I actually didn't. It'd been years since I played Red Dead, so I didn't go from Red Dead immediately to Red Dead 2 upon its release. So decided to do that just to see if it was a different experience. And so far, it has been a different experience. I mean, I knew going into Red Dead 2 kind of the background a bit, but this seems to hit home a bit more with Red Dead 2 because I just having those more recent memories with the different characters in Red Dead, John Marston, his son Jack, Dutch, Javier Escuela, which is a hilarious name, by the way. His last name is Escuela is school in Spanish, by the way. So his name is Javier School, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, just having that experience, like, coming off and having that kind of that connection with the characters, and then going into Red Dead 2 and then seeing Dutch and seeing the gang there, and seeing a young Jack. Jack's actually a teenager, I believe, in Red Dead 1, and you see him as a child in Red Dead 2. So, you see that he calls, refers to Arthur Morgan as his uncle. And so just, again, it's just been really cool to go back and experience the game Red Dead 2 right after playing Red Dead 1. Just a different experience from what I played Red Dead 2 8 years ago. And visually, looks actually pretty good. Red Dead 2 does. Playing it on ultra settings right now on my PC, on my OLED, and game looks really good for a game that's going to be 8 years old this year. So and I think definitely a better game than Red Dead 1. But yeah, but again, I did play it on my monitor today, my PC monitor, and I was like, it looks a little foggy, I guess is probably how I would describe it. I need a better monitor, I guess is what I'm saying. But then again, I don't know if I will get a better monitor because I'm playing on my C1 OLED. So, but anyhow, do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And it's a little bit of a slow news cycle right now. Not a whole lot of news. There's some Bobby Kotick news that we'll get into. Bobby's an interesting character. I refer to him as my character because he says some things that just make me go, He actually claims that a lawsuit that's tied to the Microsoft Activision deal was actually tied to Embracer Group's desire to boost sales, which I thought was kind of interesting. let me see this here real quick. Let me pull up this article, Bobby Kotick. Pull up this article real quick. All right, here we go. Bobby Kotick. This is an article on from GameIndustry.biz. Other websites have covered this article, but or this story. Thought it was interesting though. Bobby Kotick claims lawsuit objecting to Microsoft Activision deal was tied to Embracer's desire to boost sales. Very interesting, Bobby Kotick. Former Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick has claimed a lawsuit filed by a Swedish pension fund was made to help Embracer in gaining a foothold in the California market at the expense of Activision. Now, this was filed in 2022, which was an objection to Microsoft's acquisition of ABK, alleging that Kotick rushed to sale to avoid the consequences of sexual misconduct scandals, which you all know about. Bobby Kotick was there when those allegations came out of misconduct there. Kotick, as we know, has declined those claims. So the former executive, Bobby Kotick, described AP7's lawsuit's collateral attack on Activision. That also appears to be tied to Embracer's desire to boost sales of its games while leaving Activision hamstrung in development of its own games that competed against Embracer titles. I don't know about that, Bobby. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Where's a reach, as they say. Yeah, I don't know about that one. It just I don't know. I don't know, Bobby. That one seems like a bit of a reach, in my opinion. Let me get Game Logic in here. What's going on, Logic?
Nothing much, man. How are you?
Who's your profile pic? Who's that?
Strauss.
Oh, that is Strauss. Looks like an older Strauss, though. I think Strauss was a little bit younger. Strauss Zipnick.
Might be more recent. A lot of his pics that are out there are from his younger years, where he's running around with his shirt off.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I was just discussing this interview with Bobby Kotick, talking about he claims that a lawsuit that was filed by a Swedish pension fund was an attempt to help Embracer Group get a foothold in the California market at the expense of Activision, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if you saw that news story, but it was something I came across on GameIndustry.biz today. I was like, okay, Bobby, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, I saw the headline. I didn't consider it worth my time to read it.
Yeah. What is Bobby up to? Is Bobby is he working somewhere else now? I don't think we've really heard much of Bobby Kotick.
I have no idea. I assume he's retired somewhere, living off his golden parachute.
Oh my gosh! Right. Bobby got a nice deal from selling ABK. I don't think were the terms of that deal. Like, do we know how much he walked away with? I don't know if we know that or not. I'd be curious.
No,
probably shit ton of money.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, no matter how small it was definitely more than the average person's take-home pay for a year, at least. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 110%. Yeah, he's probably chilling on some island somewhere, drinking Mai Tais. You know, enjoying his life. Not a worry in the world. So Logic, so like in terms of like I was actually, when I started the show, I was talking about my experience with Red Dead 2. That's all I've been playing. I know we talked about I was going to download the remake of Dragon Quest 7, which I forgot released as Dragon Warrior 7. I know we talked about this the other day, that when Dragon Quest released here on the NES back in, was it 87 or 88? I don't remember now. I don't remember the dates, but it was it was Dragon Warrior. And then when 7 released on the PlayStation, PS1, it was actually Dragon Warrior 7. And then it was re-released again on the Nintendo 3DS, but as Dragon Quest 7, and I forget what it was called, Dragon Quest 7 something. And now we're getting this new version of Dragon Quest 7. So I wanted to download it, but I just didn't get a chance to. I've been so wrapped up in Red Dead Redemption 2. I think I said this to you the other day. Like, it's visually, it looks really good. Like, running it at ultra settings, like with the lighting, shadows, it's just like it's a really good looking game for how old it is. I'm kind of surprised how well it's kind of held up. Again, I'm running it on PC ultra settings, but it looks pretty good. And I'm having a blast playing it. Like, just it's really nice to come off of Red Dead 1 and just dive right into Red Dead 2, because you kind of I don't know, there's a bit of, like I talked about the ending of Red Dead 1 with Marston. Now you go back to Red Dead 2, you see a younger Marston, and you see a young Jack, who's his son, who's like a teenager in Red Dead 1, but you see young Jack as a kid. And then Arthur Morgan. Nate Dogg says Strauss. So yeah, so that's all I've been playing, Logic. Just Red Dead 2, man. What about you? What have you been playing recently?
Just Black Ops 7, Starfield, and Destiny 2.
Ooh, Destiny. How is Destiny 2 these days?
I'm having an interesting time with it. This is spawned off my, the thing I asserted I would do last year, which was when the final shape came out, re-on board and, make a new character and kind of do a full run right through all the content and then get caught up. And I never did that. And this is a good opportunity for me to do so now that I'm kind of getting out of, chasing the FOMO and, whatever's on the top of the charts or whatever, and just, spending time in games that are in my wheelhouse. So, yeah, I went back, rolled a new Warlock. I'm playing through the Shadowkeep content right now, and remembering how how even in like the story driven stuff, they would put like these segments of just sheer grind in there, I guess to lengthen the amount of time, that was spent, but not really particularly, story useful. Although, I played a strike last night as I was trying to get, all the pieces of the Demon Bane armor or whatever that you have to get. And went and did a strike and took on the end boss, which was Hasseldune, which is supposed to be like the daughter of Crota. So, there was a good bit of like lore and stuff in there.
Wait, Crota has a daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, fighting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Crota raid was one of my favorite raids.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've never, you and I have talked. I was, never been a raid person because I don't have that many friends. So, but you get the lore of, Crota and Hasseldune and, all those things. So it was neat going through and hearing that lore. It was the emergent social interaction of Destiny 2 has always been a hoot for me, and it's so interesting to see it still taking place, 11 years total later, right, since the initial launch, which is I launched to go down to this strike, I go into orbit, I see the fire team counter ticking, no one shows up, so it launches me into the strike, and I'm like, fuck. So now I'm going to do this thing solo by myself. I get down there, and about midway through the strike, somebody like ports in. And initially, I'm not really happy about it because he's one of these guys who's just trying to grind through content. So he's just sprinting like ahead of me, just blowing through like any enemies and challenges that come by, just trying to get to like the end boss. So I was like, great, one of these guys again. But then we get to the end boss and we're in the fight, and he actually gets taken out. So I have to go like right in front of Hasseldune to revive him. And I'm like, just like, because there's only two of us. So I'm like, well, I don't want to be the last Guardian standing. He didn't have it deal on me. So I go and do this high risk revive, like get him back up, and then we continue the fight. And then, you know, I've used my super. You know, I don't have any heavy ammo left. I got nothing. And as she's down to, you know, the last little bit of health, but we're kind of, you know, sucking wind too. I hit her with a grenade, and what I have armed for my ultimate is I'm in my like solar power. So the grenade I have is like a burning plasma grenade. So when it hits you, it just keeps burning through, and so that's what eventually took her out. So, you know, it was fun. You know, it's still got those, you know, kind of space opera, you know, Star Wars, you know, in the Death Star trench kind of moments, you know, when things are good and you have a good night.
Yeah, wow, the Crota raid is definitely a blast from the past. I mean, that's, oh geez, that raid was probably, damn, 10 years ago. I think it's, yeah, Destiny 1, probably 10 years ago, I'm thinking. But I didn't know he had a daughter. And that raid was the one where I think with Crota, you had to, I forget what it was. You had to take Crota down before you, like, I think there was a way you would sit on the ledge and then you would face Crota, and I think I shared this with you before. Like there was a point in Destiny where I remember if you didn't have the Gallahorn for the Crota raid, like people wouldn't like run with you. They were like, "No, if you don't have the Gallahorn, we're not. You can't play with us." It's like, what? It was like that. And I remember I finally got a Gallahorn, and I was able to join a raid. And I remember with the Gallahorn, it was like if everyone had the Gallahorn, you could just knock Crota down very quickly. And then, you know, you'd have that person jump down from the ledge, grab a sword, jump up to the ledge where Crota was, because Crota would like basically like go down, bend a knee. And Crota would like, and then like the person would go up, grab the sword, hit Crota like 3 times, get a couple hits, and then you'd have to get out of there real quick, or else Crota would like really mess the person up who grabbed who was there with the sword. So but it was actually a fun raid. One of the, I mean, I would say Vault of Glass and Crota are my favorite 2 raids. The other ones are less memorable for me. I think for me, like that was just peak Destiny, just Vault of Glass and Crota, and that was it.
BRAP, it's just proof that the answer is less powerful hardware.
Oh no, we're not doing that. Yeah, who said that? Was that Chris String who said less powerful hardware?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah, Corey Matt says Crota raid mechanics were ahead of his time. Yeah, I don't disagree. That was peak Destiny for me. I mean, Vault of Glass, Corey Matt says Vault of Glass, the ultimate raid experience. Yeah, the Vault of Glass was so good. Like, I mean, think of some of the puzzle platforming elements in that game, coupled with the first person or third person shooting, teamwork, timing. I mean, it's just, I say timing, like you'd have to time certain like puzzles, or you know, have to get certain items to I forget like with Crota, like you'd have to time that. If you didn't get down there and get that sword quick enough, like Crota was going to get back up. Like and it had to be because you'd have to like jump down from the ledge, jump up to this other platform, grab the sword, then jump up to that platform. You'd have to nail that, like you'd have to nail that run perfectly, or else like the timing was all screwed up. J Slayer J66 is, wait, you're talking about Destiny 1, the only good Destiny game. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. You know, Destiny 1 was just such a, I don't know, such a good game. Just really good.
Well, I mean, I want to, you know, we and the guys on E2KG, I mean, we played Destiny from, you know, from the first one through a good chunk of the second one, and we always remind each other about the revisionist history, right? Like Destiny was a good game. Destiny 1 was a good game after the Taken King. Right. So it came out with a blast, but then like the first iteration of when they started changing stuff and mixing stuff up, people were not happy, and it really didn't turn itself around until the Taken King.
I'm sorry, Ham. Hold on a sec here. Yeah, I don't think I played a lot of Destiny 2. And look, there's some bias on my part here because of the raids of Destiny 1, because it was so new. Like I don't recall having that kind of experience ever in an online multiplayer game. Like to experience the Vault of Glass and to experience Crota, those two raids. I mean, I just don't. It was such a newer experience for me. And that's probably why I probably lean a bit more towards Destiny 1 than Destiny 2. But let me ask you, did Destiny 2 do a better job of explaining the lore? Because this is one of my complaints with Destiny 1.
I think so. So my recollection of it, my feeling of it, because it's really more of like an emotional memory, is that part of the problem with Destiny is shortly after launch, like when you got past that initial campaign, it felt like what was advertised was not quite what was going on. And like I said, then there was this gap, which was about a year and 3 months or so until the Taken King came out. And like then when the Taken King came out, like we were off to the races. I think the thing about the raids, which again I didn't participate in, but what my sense of it from like observing around the community and seeing and hearing the conversations, the raids was yet another one of those kind of peak times in social that was very much akin to kind of the effect that was going on during the launch of the 360, right, and the rise of Xbox Live. There was already this thing in Destiny that I talk about, which is that it was really the first game that I can think of in a very long while that really had structure in place for kind of instancing into a fire team, right? It just because you're just like you're casually like walking across the surface of the moon and you happen to run into two guardians, right? And you guys just start running together, right? There really wasn't a game that had like all of the emotes and like I'll call it sign language for lack of a better term, and ability to kind of group up, in a way that, and of course, LFG and all that kind of stuff kind of came along later, but Destiny really kind of facilitated that in a way that hadn't really been there in other games. We talked about that all the time, like on E2KG, from strikes, like the whole, like we used to get such a kick out of like, and this is why you cared about like what your ship looked like, right? And not wanting to be in a hoopty and not wanting to be in like a default ship because of that orbit, that scene in orbit before strike, right?
Yeah.
Because you had to have some clout.
Yeah, you wanted to shot up with the I remember like showing up like the shiny ship, that were reflected. It was like, this is my you didn't want to you're right, you didn't want to show up with the hoopty.
Yeah, you didn't want that default ship right after
with that broke ass
Cosmodrome, with no skin,
yeah.
Right? So, but yeah, and then I think so for me, I think Destiny 2, there were two things that I feel like it did better, and I know that I have people who would disagree, and I'm sure Slow-Mo and I would argue about it. But I think in retrospect, particularly since they started the vaulting of the content,
and
you're going back playing like these legacy campaigns, right? I think we really all kind of slept on the Red War campaign and how good of a campaign that was just out of the gate as the default campaign within Destiny 2, and how it, to me, like made you care about what was going on. It made you angry, right? Made you like literally hate the villain in that.
Remind me what the Red War was again. Was that
so the Red War campaign is when
I may have played that. It sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Is when the Cabal, right, come to the last city.
They destroy like the whole city basically.
They take down everyone. They sever your connection with the Traveler. You lose your light, right, and you're just like a regular warrior, and you have to regain all that. And so there's that, right? There's because you spend a lot of time in the grind as like it's supposedly regular human, which is still like a pretty powerful warrior. But like when you regain your light, like that like swelling orchestral moment, right? When that happens, and you're like, yeah, time to kick ass now, right? Like everything's good on your guys' side now, but you fuck around and find out, So, but I think in retrospect, like, and I mean, because now you have an inability to get back to that, right? And I'm like, Forsaken and Shadowkeep, and I mean, there's been some good stuff. I mean, but really, I mean, Destiny 2 really started singing with the witch, is it the Witch King or the Witch Queen? I think it's the Witch Queen. That DLC really kind of started the turnaround, and again, they still then bathtub and tanked right with the whatever the DLC was after that. But I think that was a big part of it. I think a big part of it was Destiny 2 delivering on kind of things that they had been talking about with OG Destiny, but then also, what in fact turns out to have been, like, to me, like a really excellent campaign, right? In retrospect to all the other DLC that they've released, since then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I don't know. I just seem to have, personally, I just seem to have more memories, more memorable memories, moments with Destiny 1 than 2. And I think that just goes back to the raids for me. I did, and I definitely played, PvP more on Destiny 1 than I did Destiny 2, but I was also at a different place. I think I was just as a gamer, I was just at a different place. I don't think I was as invested in I was invested in other multiplayer games, but I think I was kind of weaning myself off of just doing mostly multiplayer, during the 360 generation. I was doing a lot of heavy multiplayer, and going into the Xbox One generation as well. And then that started changing towards the end of the generation a bit more, but I'm trying to think if I don't remember any of the raids I played on Destiny 2. So the Witch Queen was Destiny 2? So
yeah.
I seem to remember.
And that was kind of after everybody got really bent out of shape. With I mean, it was after they started vaulting content, and see, by that time we'd had Forsaken, Shadowkeep, the one that, and then I think the one that really kind of turned everyone sour was I think it was Beyond Light, which is where like the arc powers get introduced and you start accessing like the dark powers. But that's also when they kind of, I don't know, in my mind, kind of retconned, right, who the Fallen were and kind of turned them into kind of good guys. I think that's where people kind of started like losing like their faith in what was going on and where it was headed. And really, you'd gotten rid of Cade, you replaced the voice actress for Ikora, who in Deborah Wilson is a great voice actress. The problem is she's coming in after Gina Torres, right? So I just think people got wonky. So I feel like the Witch Queen was when people felt like, oh, okay, now we're like getting back to it. So
yeah. I'm just trying to think of what about the subclasses? Like I don't recall. It's been such a long time. For some reason, I just remember, like I always ran with the Titan subclass, or the Titan class, and I remember there was the super that I had, which was like the hammer. You throw the hammer and it like cause all this fire damage.
Yeah, I think that was part of the solar subclass.
Yeah, was that Destiny 1 or 2? I don't remember.
I think that came in Destiny 2.
Okay. I remember that being badass. You get that like hammer. It was like Thor's hammer. I remember that. That was fun. You're right. It was part of that solar subclass, which is what there's also a void subclass too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that's the one. I maybe said arc, but yeah, the void one is the one where, because you go after I forget what her name is, but you go after a fallen like tribal leader, a female who's trying to like mount up. She's trying to unify all the tribes of the fallen, right? Because they're really just like a bunch of like roving war chieftains, and she's trying to she's trying to unify everyone, and she's doing it by offering everybody like access to these void powers. And then that's when like you uncover this thing of like who the Fallen really were and where they came from. So yeah, Corey, you're saying Beyond Light is where they went astray. It was after Witch Queen. I'm talking about the one. I'm talking about whatever the one was, where the one that I was just talking about, right? Where you uncover what the secret of the Fallen is, and you get access to the void powers. I remember people not being happy about the introduction of the void powers. That's where, to me, they bathtub some things after Forsaken. Nobody, I mean, people also were still very salty about Cade being taken off the map, but I mean, it's Nathan Fillion, right? He's not going to do that forever, right? He's got other stuff to do. So, but yeah,
I forgot Nathan Fillion was a voice actor in Destiny.
Yeah.
I believe he was also in Halo Reach, if I'm not mistaken.
He was, yeah, I think so.
Arguably, maybe the best Halo game.
Yeah, you're right, Chopper. I quite honestly don't remember if it's Void or Stasis. I think maybe you guys can tell me. I think maybe both were controversial, but one of those, yeah, I think Stasis was the one that was. I think it's Stasis. Whatever is the one where you like when you like throw the grenade or whatever, it creates like a wall of like purple ice or whatever. So if that's Stasis, then yeah, it's Stasis I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember a wall of ice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the chapter where I guess I think in the lead up to the chapter you find out that whatever the exo is that you keep running into is actually like from the future. That's also a point to me where it jumped the shark. I think she's from the future, and she's actually related to or somehow tied to whatever her name was that was the chief scientist who like brought the war sats back or whatever. I'm I pay some attention to Destiny 2 lore, but I'm not like a deep like I'm not like a lore expert. I see the stuff go by and I remember bits and pieces of it, but like I don't have it road mapped out on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, Corey Masters right. Cade 6 being killed off her. That did hurt. I remember that. And then the passing of Lance Riddick. Remember that when he passed away, they had.
Oh yeah.
They had something there. I remember actually going back on a Destiny just for that.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference to me is like people didn't hold that against Bungie, obviously. But they did. I do feel like they like the passing of the killing off of Cade 6. I felt like.
People weren't happy about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I've got some more Bobby Kotick news here. Logic. Bobby Kotick claims Activision, Call of Duty, and consoles are doing so poorly, it proves he was right to sell Activision Blizzard to Microsoft for $69 billion. Shots fired. This is an article by IGN. More Bobby Kotick stuff. This talks a little bit about the that lawsuit that I just talked about earlier in the show here. But where's the part here? Let's see here. I'm gonna read this article. All right, as reported by GameFile, Kotick has now issued his response to allegations against this is the lawsuit. Part of Kotick defenses used declining financial performance of Activision, Call of Duty, and the console market in the recent years to back up his claim that selling to Microsoft at $95 a share was the right thing to do at the time. And one quote in particular is being picked up by the Call of Duty community as being of interest today, given that console sales are at all-time low and Call of Duty sales are off 60% from the prior year. The plaintiff should be expressing extreme gratitude for the foresight Activision leadership demonstrated in consummating this transaction. As GameFile points out, I think GameFile is Steve Totillo. I think that's his website. Kotick failed to provide evidence of his 60% sales decline claim, and neither Microsoft nor Activision announced a sales figure Black Ops 7 yet, but we do know Black Ops 7 has struggled in sales in terms of compared to Black Ops 6, a fact that's reflected in everything from European sales figures to Activision's own admissions. Circana has reported that November full game dollar sales for Call of Duty Black Ops 7 finished below those of Call of Duty Black Ops 6 last November, with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 launching in the October 2024 tracking period. Of course, none of this takes into account the Game Pass effect, which is fairly new to Call of Duty. Call of Duty now launches day one on Microsoft subscription service. No doubt have an impact on sales, at least on Xbox consoles. But a 60% sales decline is an enormous drop-off, even with Game Pass considered. IGN has asked Activision for a comment. There is data to back up Kotick's claim about consoles. November 25 was a shockingly terrible month for video game sales in the U.S. Indeed, it was the worst November in video game hardware unit sales and the worst in physical software dollar sales the U.S. has seen since 1995. More specifically, hardware spending was down a whopping 27% year over year to $695 million, the lowest hardware spending total for November since 2005, $455 million. Even worse, unit sales reached 1.6 million, which is the lowest number total since 1995's 1.4 million. And that representatives of decline that's representative declines across the board. Xbox Series hardware sales were down 70% year over year. PS5 sales were down 40%. And the combined unit sales of Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 were down over 10% from Switch sales last year, despite this being a launch year for Nintendo Switch 2. So, some of this, again, logic has really sparked a couple things. A conversation that, COD is, some people are rolling with the narrative COD is worse off. This is proof that COD is worse off under Microsoft. Now, if you look at the sales of Black Ops 7, and then also, this has sparked, again, the conversation that, consoles are dying, that they're not relative anymore in the marketplace. So I've been seeing a little bit of that around this article, and kind of seems to be, I think since right around the holidays, people have really been pushing that narrative. I know we've talked a little about it on the show about decline in console sales and the sky is falling, right? About consoles. But Kotick's kind of attributed some of that to, I don't know, was it Kotick? Was it you that, was it Circana or Kotick that attributed what were we talking about today, Logic? Something about, it was Steam. Was it you that told me about Steam sales for Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders? I don't remember now. We talk about that? Oh, Logic will be back. I just saw his message. All right, Logic will be right back. All right. So Call of Duty is on track to perform 6% below last year because of intense competition for titles like Battlefield. Destroying the FTC's now defeated argument about Call of Duty's purported monopoly and the lack of competition for first-person game category. This is per Bobby Kotick. While the recent Black Ops 7, Activision announced significant changes to the Call of Duty franchise, including promising never to release back-to-back games. I think that's a big thing, too. I think the fact that they released, in my opinion, I think it's the fact that they released, these... multiple Black Ops games, right? And they're not going to do that anymore. They're not going to release They're not going to release the they're not going to do like consecutive years of Modern Warfare releases. They're not doing the Black Ops consecutive year releases as well. So those are some changes that Activision announced late last year after the release of Black Ops 7. But again, it is underperforming. I know people like to bring up the Circana numbers of engagement with Call of Duty. I think the one thing people seem to forget, though, is that those numbers, the engagement numbers, are based off of not just Call of Duty Black Ops 7, but all the Call of Duties. So Warzone, Black Ops 7, Black Ops 6, Modern Warfare. I think I said Warzone already. So it's just a combination of all those games and the people that are playing those games. Chad Stud says, correction, only one is declining, the rest are fine. That's a fair point. Yeah, I don't know if IGN's reported that PlayStation's been declining the entire gen. I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, the only report on about PlayStation adversity was the down negative 12% on holiday sales, but overall they are I mean, they're not up, but they're very close to parity with PS4.
Yeah, they're not that far off from PS4. I forget the numbers. I have to go back and look, but they're not that far.
Yeah, it was like, I think the last report was 3 million behind, which is statistically just in the noise.
It might be less than that now. But yeah, no, it's just, yeah. I mean, but people run with that as proof that consoles are dying. I don't know if consoles died, Logic. Where do people play video games at?
So I probably have a few tirades on this.
Not everyone's gonna go out and buy a capable PC to play some of these AAA games that they want. But
so
go ahead.
So the first thing I want to ask is, more country, like right as I stepped away, was there a Verizon outage?
Yes, there actually was. There was one, because I only know this because a few of my coworkers in our Teams chat were saying, is anyone's personal cell phone not working? And the ones that had Verizon were having issues.
Yeah, so I was I had taken my youngest daughter to swim practice, and I was watching Rise of the Planet of the Apes, because there was a special on iTunes / Apple TV for the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy for like $12.99. So I was like, I remember seeing the first one and I kind of liked it, but I never got around to watching the other two. So fine, I'll buy it. So I was watching Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I was looking up some like IMDb information, and like as I was looking it up, like it blanked out. And then I tried to get like my Apple Music going, and that blanked out. And then it blanked out again, like on the commute back. So that's good to know that that was not me or my phone, but a global issue. But my second piece of tirade is, so I'm so glad to see IGN continuing its participation in the sensationalist slop that is gaming and tech journalism these days. We are, sadly, a far cry off and beat off from the early 2000s when gaming journalism actually mattered and was done by professional journalists. And there was some type of, due diligence and professional integrity. And my objective point tied to this is, why are we giving this piece of filth of a human being the time of day or the consideration for anything that he has to say? Why is he thought to be whatsoever a credible source for quotation to put in an article, when the entirety of 2021 they were being sued for sexual harassment, allegations that he led to the suicide of one of his former employees, being sued for sexual harassment and employee workplace, inappropriateness and lack of handling of HR issues from both the federal government and the state of California. Like, so this is not a person who is worthy of being quoted. And that's from a moral perspective. From a business perspective, and this is why I have Strauss's avatar here tonight. From a business perspective, his claim that, oh, the thing is doing worse since I turned it over. Strauss, in October 2023, Strauss talked about how the problem with Activision and Call of Duty was that the company was thinly capitalized. And so what he means by it, and he said, Call of Duty is this big, huge thing, and it's certainly a competitive force. But when your corporation is thinly capitalized, you see the problem that you can get into and the reason why there would be for seeking of an acquisition. And so what that means is, in hard times, in adverse times for Activision, they were not a company that had resilience because of their debt to equity ratio, because of the assets that they actually owned. They were a highly cash flow driven organization almost as if you were a company who ran a subscription service. And what that means is that you are highly subject to the disruption of that momentary cash flow because the only real assets you have is cash on hand. That is not representative of a financially healthy company from the basis of kind of what the New York Stock Exchange looks at and what financial experts look at. Activision achieved that state under Kotick's regime, under his leadership. That type of regime has an expiration date. So whatever is going on with Call of Duty now, I don't give full credence to it that that's because of Microsoft or that's because of Xbox. Xbox has their own problems. Microsoft has their own problems. I can readily point those out without Kotick's help. What is going on with Call of Duty now is at least to some percentage, I would say 70 to 78%, due to the trajectory that he set up, due to the infrastructure he set up, due to the framework he set up, because it was always subject to encounter this type of adversity and have a difficult time recovering from it. Placing it in Microsoft's hands, I believe, probably exacerbated it and made it worse. But I don't believe that the headwinds that it's encountering now were things that would not have happened under his leadership by any means. And his way of surmounting that, right, was to crunch, dehumanize, not treat people humanely, not treat people as human beings, but treat them as chattel, right? And that's how, right, his organization got through.
And he got rich off of it. Yeah. No, that's a great point, Logic. I just think unfortunately it's because he's the former CEO of Activision Blizzard King. I think anytime he speaks, we're probably going to hear reports, unfortunately. Like I like in reading some of the commentary about the lawsuit. Oh, it's about Embracer trying to prevent Activision to be successful or to do business or whatever it was in California. That seemed a little like I didn't say this when I was reading it, but I'm like, it sounds like you sound like a slime ball. Like I thought that's a bit of a reach to make that accusation.
Oh, he doesn't sound like he is a slime ball. I mean, he's a piece of trash.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect and acknowledge what you're saying that we're probably going to hear about it. My cut is like we shouldn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Or we shouldn't give it any credence.
Yeah. I thought the thing was interesting is that he's kind of like, oh, look, like I knew better, right? Like I got out of this, right? It's like, okay, maybe, but and then him saying that, it's you talked about some of the failures of the more recent Black Ops and consoles and things like that. So, yeah, he is no Charles Zelnick, sir.
That he is not, I will pair with Joseph Fair's statements this week that he feels like EA gets a little bit overly in terms of its criticism. I readily agree that during the years that we were running around claiming EA was the worst, they were not the worst. Activision was by a country mile.
Yeah, which was kind of interesting when Microsoft swooped in to buy him because they came in and as these allegations were being made.
Well, I mean, this is when I go back to Strauss's comments about thinly capitalized and what that means and what that indicates. Then yes, right now you have a window to discuss. Okay, so where was the Xbox? Where was the Microsoft due diligence? Right. And remember the comment that I made, like being thinly capitalized, it's almost like you're running akin to what you look like as a subscription service where you don't own a lot of capital assets, right? And you're a highly cash flow based organization. Gee, I wonder why Microsoft or Xbox would look at that and not have a problem with it.
Yeah. Speaking of Microsoft, Logic, I don't know if you saw this, Xbox might have accidentally leaked for Forza Horizon 6's release date. Read the article here. Polygon, an ex user claims that Xbox has accidentally leaked Forza Horizon 6 release date in a Forza Horizon 5 pop-up advertisement. The allegedly comes ahead of the January 20th Xbox Developer Direct is coming up about a week, where Forza Horizon developer Playground Games is set to reveal new details about its upcoming games, Forza Horizon 6 and Fable. Ex-user Xbox F10 posted a screenshot showing what appears to be a promotional image with details about premium editions of Forza Horizon 6. The leaked image also includes details about the game's upcoming DLC. This is the leaked image here. Early access, play 4 days early starting May 15th. Now, they've done that before with the early access. That was kind of a bit of there's some controversy around that. I don't know if you remember that logic, like when they released Starfield and had that early access. And then, was it $100? I remember it was $100. It might have been $100, I think, for the early access to play Starfield, and people were upset because they're like, well, wait a minute, I have Game Pass. Game Pass, you're supposed to get games day and date, and this game is releasing early. Technically, that's not day and date. So
day and date, but not for everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Day and date paywalled. So yeah, some people are upset about that. Like, I get it. You pay for a service expecting day and date, and technically you're not getting day and date because it's releasing, and you're being paywalled out of that release. So
now they don't have that. Now they don't need to complain about it because they've been paywalled out of a ton of other stuff and tiered 2 times over. So this shouldn't be a big deal to them anymore.
Yeah.
If it is, then pay the $30 per month.
Yeah.
And pony up the extra for the early access.
For the early access, yeah. So so early access, play 4 days early, starting May 15th. VIP membership, welcome pack, card pass, time attack card pack, Italian passion card pack, 2 premium expansions. Yeah, this is what was leaked here, this image. The article says there's reason to be skeptical here. We cannot independently confirm seeing this image in Forza Horizon 5, nor can any other reports as of time of writing. What's more, advertising related pop-ups don't happen frequently in Forza Horizon 5. The transition between ordering your car and receiving it takes only a few seconds, and you're more likely to see a cinematic pop-up showcasing a current event in the open world, and even that happens after receiving your car. What's interesting about Forza Horizon 5, and I don't think anything official has been reported on this, but there was, hold on a sec here. I know we don't like to cite Alania Analytics, but according to Alania Analytics logic, Forza Horizon 5 has crossed 5 million copies sold on PS5. That was a tweet that was posted January 9th. So that would be about 300 million in revenue from a port that's 4 years old. So of a 4-year-old game. Again, I know we don't give a lot of credit, but if this is true, that's pretty big, I think, those are a lot of copies, 5 million, right? But then it begs the question, logic. 5 million on a install base of what, 80, 84, 85 million? Is that considered a flop these days?
Well, I mean, we shouldn't consider that any more successful than, they consider PlayStation titles successful who sell, like, literally PlayStation exclusive titles sell more than that, and yet the Xbox fan base will declare that they're unsuccessful. Look, I don't give Alania Analytics any validity. They haven't crossed the line to being credible for me. I would say what's pertinent about Forza Horizon performance, which we know without the help of Alania Analytics, is we know that the game has performed better commercially in 2025 since the port to PlayStation 5 than it did when it was on its own platform and on PC. And that's significant. Like hugely significant. It indicates, what we've always said on PlayStation 5, which is that people buy games. But it also means that from the perspective of Xbox, and I think we've said this before, is that all of this corporate pandering and alignment and and towing the company line about games need to be multi-platform. They need to be everywhere. Well, when you're Xbox, that's absolutely true, because you can't make any money selling it and putting it into Game Pass to 30 million people. That obviously doesn't pass the smell test. Where if you're on PlayStation 5 and you've got a user install base of 80 million people, your highest reasonable projections for sell through is at best 8 million, and even that's a crazy high number, right? So if you're on Xbox at 30 million and you take my way optimistic 3 million, but then you put it under the consideration that nobody has to buy it because they can just sign up to Game Pass, you're lucky if you sell 1 million copies of that game on your own platform. So, and then clearly just putting it on PC wasn't enough, because they put it on PC and it still didn't chart, right, for the year. So clearly, right, the thing you need to do is you need to put it on PlayStation. That means PlayStation is essential for Xbox. Absolutely essential. And I think we're seeing, and we've seen evidence that, as I've said, there's definitely reason to question whether or not overall commercial performance for any given individual title is better on PlayStation, to the point of making its performance on Xbox not really relevant. And so this goes back to, the Sean Layden kind of statement of, exclusives matter if we're going to have platform companies. And that's the question, right, for the gaming industry, but also for consumers. I think consumers like platforms. Call me crazy, but it seems like the demand signal sent from the market is that people like platforms.
Well, apparently not. If you listen to certain individuals.
Well, if you listen to Matt Booty, right, he claims gamers don't care about the hardware they play on, which is really funny because you have to have hardware to play games. I don't care if it's coming over the cloud. You have to have a piece of hardware to play a game on. You have to have a screen. We're not at the holodeck yet. We're not at Ready Player One. We're not beaming games into people's minds. To make an idiotic statement like people don't care about, like, even if they're playing their game on an iPhone, right? And we've seen the phone business, right? The hardware phone business.
I mean, they're still making a choice. I mean, they're still making a choice to go. I mean, they're going to go Apple. I'm going to go, Samsung.
Well, and we've seen in the hardware space on phones, we've seen the rise of gaming specific phones, right? We've seen Asus, we've seen Red, we've seen I can't remember the names of all of them now since I switched over to Apple. I don't track it as much, but we've seen Nubia. I think Xiaomi makes a gaming specific phone. I think Acer makes a gaming specific phone. Razer, right, stepped in and made a gaming specific phone, and now just makes a cloud enabled device, right, that doesn't have the full cell phone functionality. So again, people care about hardware. I don't care if they're not playing on the type of hardware that I prefer. People care about hardware. You made a flipping deal to put Xbox Game Pass via cloud enablement available on TCL and Hisense televisions. And you're not rolling that out globally. So you're clearly making exclusive deals with TV brands for that service. You clearly had an exclusive deal with Samsung. And that's why it was essentially paywalled to nothing but Samsung TVs. So again, please stop with the hypocrisy and the lies telling people that people don't care about hardware. Clearly they do. And clearly you value those hardware deals as well because you're making them.
To your point, Logic, you're always going to need hardware to play video games. And I think that is the piece of the equation that people tend to sidestep. And they do it because they want to push their narratives. I mean, let's just get that out of the way. I mean, that is the only reason they say these things, because they want to prove that one company, in fact, is doing it right and the others are just behind this trend that consoles are dying. There's no demand. And I know we talked about this on this show, but look, there's only finite consumers that are going to play video games, right? There's not this abundant number of gamers out there waiting to be saved, to meet their PlayStation or Xbox Moses to cross the Red Sea into the valley of video games. Like that's not going to happen, right? But to your point about demand, I mean, we still like you need hardware to sell software, right? And if you look at the software signal, the demand of software, and the amount of it's funny like monetization, and people like to use the Circana, what is it, the Circana, what the fuck's it called,
the engagement numbers.
Thank you, the engagement numbers, yes. And they'll say, oh well, look at the engagement numbers, proof that exclusives don't matter, right? It's like, okay, well, how are people engaging in those games? They're not doing it like you said through the, what did you say, through the holodeck? they're not doing it. They're like Fortnite's not being beamed into their brain and they're playing it through their eyes. Like that's just not happening. It's happening on a platform, on a piece of hardware, right?
Yeah, and people.
So there's a symbiotic relationship between hardware and software, and it's like, guys, like no, like just because and again, consoles are growing. Yeah, is there this explosive growth that we saw in the early 2000s? I know people like to bring up the PlayStation 2, but I think we need to remember too, the PlayStation 2 is kind of a Trojan horse, right? The time of CDs, or not CDs, I'm sorry, DVDs, right?
Yeah, and even and even PlayStation 3 with the Blu-ray player.
The Blu-ray, yeah. So I mean, it's just like, and yeah, like new people are always going to come into the ecosystem or the platforms. Are they going to be like hundreds of millions of new gamers? Probably not. But the fact of the matter remains that these companies are still monetizing, right? They're still revenue. They're making revenue, and they're making revenue because people are paying for software and services on these platforms, right? And when you hear things like PlayStation, Sony coming out and saying, oh well, this is the most profitable generation, the PS5 generation, out of any PlayStation generation. Well, what does that tell us? That people are still spending money in those ecosystems, or in that ecosystem, right? So I mean, and that's the other thing that people forget. Like you could still drive revenue and spend without bringing 100 million new customers into the fold, right? And this is what most companies do in an immature market. They just squeeze more pennies out of their consumers. And
again, look at the Forza Horizon 5 performance, right?
Yeah.
You put that game in the cloud. You put that game on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? You enabled more cloud tiers. Forza Horizon 5 didn't start performing because you did all those things agnostic to hardware. It started performing when you put it on the platform with the greatest market share in the console market.
And Logic, let's just be fair too. Like also the console platform where you have a consumer that actually will go out and spend money on games,
right?
So for all the belly aching of people saying things like, and I've seen this argument, oh well, Xbox is propping PlayStation up. I'm like, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. It doesn't go one way.
Well, that's also an entirely false equivalency because PlayStation 5 was doing fine before Xbox games started showing up on PlayStation 5. It's not like Xbox games started showing up on PlayStation 5 and miraculously PS5 is off to the races and saying,
yeah, exactly. Now it's caught up to the PlayStation 4. Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's just it's this weird thing. And it's again like we talk about Kotick's comments, and then I'm seeing people, consoles are dying, and they really want to believe that. They want to believe that consoles are dying to justify the business model that Xbox is pursuing. And like I've said this on this show, it's like, guys, like they, each company's playing to their own strengths, and there's enough out there, enough of the pie where they can kind of carve their own slices of the market and do well. But I believe if Microsoft, the Xbox was selling consoles at the same clip as PlayStation 5 or PlayStation, I don't know that we'd be having this conversation, Logic. About Xbox. Or they would do the grand pivot they're doing.
Right. And it's also the statement that I use as pushback, right, to the whole, well, you guys only say this because you're a pony. Again, when Xbox sells 80 million units of any piece of hardware, I'll even give them hardware in aggregate. If Xbox comes out with a SEC right compliant statement that they are held accountable to, and they tell me that between Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, Xbox ROG Ally, right, and whatever else that they want, right, that they've sold a total of 80 million of those, one, and they have ARPU that equates to $250 per year per customer, and they have revenue that exceeds 32.5 billion or whatever PlayStation makes that year, they tripwire any of those three things, I will readily admit, okay, Xbox has achieved parity with PlayStation. But those three objective KPIs haven't been hit. So we are every week, in and out. Not every week, not due to our own fault, but essentially the conversation, right, in aggregate, is always about how Xbox is doing better than those three numbers indicate. And I'm like, no, those three things are numbers. They are numerals, the universal language. If we ever run into the aliens, we intend to talk to them via math. That's why we have math scrawled on the side of the damn Voyager. Right? So when
we have math.
Changes,
hold on, wait. We have math on the side of the Voyager?
Yeah.
How come I never do that?
Yeah, that little symbol or whatever the drawing is on the side of the Voyager capsule.
So are we? Is the assumption then that math is truly the universal language?
Yes,
and that aliens are going to understand this?
It's not the assumption; it is. Everybody has to understand math. Everybody has to understand. Like
my mind is spinning right now, Logic. But go ahead. I'll let you finish your point. I got a follow up question. Yeah.
To achieve faster than light speed, you must be able to understand the math to understand what the number that indicates you're faster than light means.
Oh
right?
my God, my brain is No, because I like would they recognize like the numerical value of four, right? The number 4. Like, would they understand what that value means?
Yeah, it may be called something different, but the mathematical
that's my point.
value of 4 is 4.
But yeah, I agree. But I'm saying like
if you have 4 sticks and the alien has 4 sticks, but he calls 4 Klimpty 2, right? At the end of the day, if you give the alien your 4 sticks, he or she will be compelled to give you 4 sticks in exchange.
That is now. Is this before they take over planet Earth that we have the exchanging of sticks?
Right.
Because no, I mean it's funny you say that math is universal language. I mean I've always said that. I always said with the SAT, math is the only universal part of that test because math is truly a universal language. I'm gonna have to look this up now. Now that after the podcast, it's funny because my 7-year-old, he talks a lot about space, and I don't know if they're because they're learning about the planets right now, but he's very interested in this idea of like life outside of planet Earth. He's like, Dad, are they like aliens somewhere? Like, are they going to come like hang out with us? I'm like, buddy, I don't know. It's one of life's great mysteries. I would imagine there's got to be life out there. The universe is too big, right?
Yeah, my daughter, not this summer, but the summer before, went on a very big kick about string theory. So I got her a book that was like string theory for 5th graders or something like that.
Oh, okay.
That it's hilarious. She was just giving my wife the business like another week, like a week ago, because she was vehemently trying to explain or inform my wife that there is a difference between there's a difference between alternate timelines and alternate dimensions, that they are not the same thing.
Oh my goodness.
She was taking my wife to task.
Wow.
It was hilarious. So yeah. Oh, and if it's not math, then it will be music, right? Because music is mathematically based. So if the aliens can't speak to us directly via math, they will try and use music as a translative layer.
That makes sense. That's why when Luke Skywalker over to the bar and the aliens are playing the music, it just hit. Like, Oh my God. I can't believe she read a book on string theory. That is awesome.
And
has she read anything about what's that?
And also scary.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting conversation. I know this is we totally went off the rails here, but I've always, like quantum physics, quantum mechanics. I've always found those things to be fascinating. String theory, this idea that I was listening to a scientist talking about like life on other planets that in reality we may have not come in contact with more advanced life or aliens because they may have destroyed themselves. Like their civilizations they may have fallen to some of the things that we have struggled with: war, famine, things like that, lack of natural resources, or depletion of natural resources to sustain life, that they may have died out.
Yeah, I mean, according to the Xbox fan base, the future of Xbox is quantum computing. So that's how they'll finally.
That's the other thing I heard too. It made me think about what you said about because you said it on the show. You've said this a couple times on the show that in the future we won't have like personal desktops. That we'll have like what did you call it?
Distributed computing.
Yeah, thank you.
Which may in fact be cloud, right? Like I don't know exactly what the technology, but my point of that theory of the future is that it does not make sense. It makes absolutely no sense for me to have the computing power that I have right here in my studio, and for me, a single human being, right, to only be able to use it, right, myself, like in a singular time, right. And so what I mean by that is there's a lot of compute capability for your PlayStation 5, right, sitting in your home, but a ton of the time that PS5 exists sitting in your game room, that compute potential is not being used, right? So at a certain point, energy, economics, common sense, maybe changes, sociological changes, right? Maybe, if the reality of AI it happens that some people think, and we're able to start spending our time thinking about real problems because AI handles all the menial stuff. And we get around to universal income and crazy things like that, and we're living in the world of Star Trek, right? And this is part of the framework of Star Trek, right? Is that at a certain point, those compute resources doesn't make sense for them to be lying latent and idle, with individual owners under a capitalist economy, because again, that resource management just doesn't make sense. I don't know if that's a reality, but that's my contention, right? At a certain point, if I can build one computer, and enable its use by 5 people, then at a certain point, for various reasons, it stops making sense for me to build one computer for one person.
It's the future.
Well, I mean, hopefully. I mean, while I joke, like this is a separate conversation from the gaming conversation in the current news cycle. As a technologist, right, and a humanist, what I honestly hope is, I would hope that as a race we evolve, right, to the point where we start thinking about things more. In that,
I think, I think as a race we're devolving at the moment, but I won't get into that.
That is probably true.
Yeah.
Well, this is my other fear is that we don't start thinking about that until we have to get off the planet, right? Because it's no longer habitable. That's the other problem.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. No. But I did see that, like someone talking about that, and like kind of tying it to Xbox. I'm like, oh, why is everything tied to the Xbox? Like cloud gaming is the future. The holodeck. Oh, Xbox. It's like let's pump the brakes here. I mean, we're not even there yet. We're not even there yet. We're so far out. Cloud is, it's funny, as long as I've been podcasting, I've been podcasting for the last 11 years now. Cloud, it's always like every cloud, this is we're gonna finally get cloud. Oh, cloud. We yes, and I understand we have cloud, right? But not in the way that people thought we would have cloud, where you would stream your games and be this one-to-one experience and you could just abandon console hardware.
Yeah, and throughout this, like there's little ragged pieces, right, where like you can see the humanitarian evolution, and some places where it's good, some places where it's bad.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not I think it's not a good thing, right? That literally, right, Gen Alpha and to a certain extent Gen Z. I would actually say Gen Z, right? Because they're showing up in the workplace now. It is not a good thing that Gen Z does not understand where their freaking digital files are, right? Because they grew up in a world where they didn't have to understand file folder systems.
That is no bueno.
If they're not a technologist, right? You say, right, you say things to them like NTFS, UFS, AFS. They have absolutely, like, there's a chunk of that demographic, not all of them. There's a chunk they have no idea what you're talking about. When you like, and when they need to find a file, right? Hey, I was working on your speech for tomorrow. Where do you want me to put it? Or, hey, you were working on my speech. I need the file because I need to put it in a specific place because I want it available in like 3 different places, right? And literally have this person who doesn't like, okay, we have SharePoint, right? Okay, but I don't want it on a corporate resource, right? I need it somewhere where I need it physically on my phone. Okay. You ask them, where did you save the file? I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I was working on the file on a company resource. I launched the app. I hit save. I have no flipping idea where it is.
I hit save and I don't know where it's saved to. I'm lost. I don't know.
What do you mean where it's at? It's saved.
You saved it to your computer?
And that's because
files.
They grew up in a world where they grew up in a world of hybrid fabric, right? Where the connectivity between like their PC, their location within the corporate network and the cloud was transparent to them. So there's kind of some good to that, right? Because then the Luddites don't have to understand all that stuff, and we've enabled them. But at the same time, we've lost some fidelity in the understanding of people and their ability to solve problems because there's just like basic, right, building block components that they don't understand.
They don't understand, yeah. That's a great point, Logic. All right, I want to move on to this interview by I always forget what I know it's Chris String. It's thegamebusiness.com. And he interviewed Joseph Ferris, Hazelite Studios. We all know Joseph Ferris, right? Remember Joseph Ferris, I believe, was had a bit too many drinks at one of his appearances at the Game Show Awards. It was like, fuck the Oscars. But Joseph Ferris of Hazelite Studios, or of Hazelite Studios, who made some of the more, I think, some of the best, AA experiences. It Takes Two. What was the recent one they released? I forget the name of it. Which I need to play.
Split Fiction.
Thank you. So he talks a bit about the, his experience and relationship with EA. And I think what really caught my eye here is he talks about some of the concerns, things that concern him in the industry with publishers in general, right? I'm going to read kind of the some of the concerns that he has here. He says, if there's one thing that does concern him, Joseph Ferris, about publishers in general, then it's their penchant for chasing trends. And we see this a lot. He tells us he's generally optimistic about where the industry is heading, but he's somewhat concerned by the excitement around AA games. He says, you do hear after the success of things like Clear Obscure Expedition 33, that AA games are taking over. I mean, I feel like anytime there's a big AA game, Logic, I think you would agree. It's like, oh, AA games are taking over. AAAs are dead. Nobody wants AAAs.
Nobody cares about AAA.
Nobody cares about AAA. Or the only innovation, creativity is coming from AA or indies, right?
What was it during the acquisition? No. Hopefully, Jeff Grubb doesn't feel any offense to this, but I mean, it was a statement he made. Then the next big innovation will come from the indie space, from your PUBGs, etc.
Yeah, I don't know about that. PUBGs. I get the point he was trying to make. I didn't necessarily agree with it. But where was I? Here we go. That double A games are taking over, but I would not be able to live without a triple A title. I really wanted to play blockbuster games. You can't do GTA for 10 million. We need both. It's important not to get stuck in ideas. Like double A is a new thing, or indie's a new thing, or blah, 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 blah is a new thing. We need the diversity. I hope that publishers don't just look at a game like Expedition, which has been super successful, and think, oh, double A is a new thing. Let's only do that. I don't believe in that. You had a huge amount of double A games that came this year, which nobody cared about. Let's remember that. And I think that's a great point, Logic, because I think a lot of us get not us on this show. I don't think we do this, but I see a lot of people do this.
I think that was also a gently edited. Right. I think what he actually said in the podcast. Because I listened to the podcast to the show. I think what he said was, let's not forget that a bunch of double A games came out last year that nobody gave a fuck about.
He probably did say that. Knowing Joseph Ferris, right? He probably did say that. But I think that's important. I think that's an important thing to discuss because, hold on a second, Logic. Doing something here real quick. Sorry, Logic, just typing something here. All right. Yeah. So sorry about that. So I think it's an important conversation to have because I think that's a great point, right? Because like the conversation's always like, let's copy this, let's do this, or we need more indies, we need more double A's, or hey, like if you want to, like exclusives don't matter, third party's the way to go, right? Third party's gonna
put your games everywhere, and you'll just make more money.
Yeah, just put your games everywhere. Yeah,
like it just makes sense.
It just makes sense. Like it's a fucking given, right? You're going to release third party. You're going to release your games on multiple platforms, and it makes sense. Oh, and you're going to make all this money. But we never talk about, like to Joseph Ferris' point, we never talk about the third party games that fail because there's a lot of games that fail. Many games fail, right? I mean, I think the one thing that's really impressive about Nintendo and PlayStation is that a lot of their first party exclusives do really well. Right? Like they sell well. I mean, like look at Ghost of Yote. It's the 10th top selling game of 2025 in a matter of 1 month. Right? And that's beating out, I don't even know how many AAA, third party releases happened in 2025, but it beat out a bunch that released on multiple platforms. Right? But he does bring up the point about diversity, right? That we need the diversity, and I look at that as we need games that are these small budget, indie or double A games, these big triple A games, these blockbusters. He says I want to play blockbuster games. Frankly, that's all I've had time to play this past year. But I think that diversity is important. Right? I don't think we want I don't want all video games to be the same. I don't want that. That's one of the things I love about gaming is just that there's so much diversity right now in terms of creativity and the scale scope of games that we get. So Logic, what are your thoughts about that particular comment there about diversity and that he acknowledges that while the Expedition 33 has success, we also have to remember there were a huge amount of double A games that came out this year that just nobody really cared about. All right, Logic, I think, is having some issues. Oh no, he says I can hear the show. Okay, he's going to be right back. All right, so I'm just going to read this article. So Logic gets back. Chris Drake says, I point out that it's a lot harder to take risk at the AAA level. And Joseph Ferris actually, in response to Christopher Drink, said, I would argue that. Actually, Naughty Dog is pushing the envelope of innovation with AAA budget. I would argue Rockstar's doing it. Nintendo most of the time is doing it. So you can do a big AAA title, but also take innovative risk. But once you go over $100 million budget, you're going to be like, okay, shit. There's a lot of money on the table. People are more scared. It's understandable, but it's proven that you can do it.
He goes back and also adds Sony Santa Monica to that as well.
Oh, he mentioned so he mentioned Sony Santa Monica. Okay.
Yeah, I mean your question before I had to step away for a second, there's a few different vectors of this. So the first one, his comment that like let's not forget that a bunch of AA games came out last year that nobody cares about. 19,000 games published on Steam every year. My numbers may be a little off because I'm trying to recall this from memory, but it's in the ballpark. Single-digit percentage number of those games break $100,000 a year. $100,000 is roughly what you need to pay one developer. So if the games aren't breaking $100,000 a year, even if the game is made by one developer, you've now essentially not made enough to pay their salary. Highly concentrated in terms of like the new game revenue. Highly concentrated, again, single digit numbers of games that make something like, I want to say like 91% of the new game revenue, right? So my point is that this is the competitive environment. You've got 19,000 games that come out. You've got a very small number that break 100K, a very small number that aggregate a ton of the revenue. So you have about high 17,000, 18,000 games that come out that are unsuccessful. Now, yes, a ton of them are, schlock, student, right? Student projects, right? Blah, blah, blah. But a bunch of them aren't, right? A bunch of them are real business ventures from companies that are going concerns, from incorporations, from LLCs. So you have a ton of people putting out games on Steam that don't make money. This whole notion that, all you have to do is make indies, all you have to do is make small projects. All these small projects come out and they're profitable and they turn them over to do their next project. No, they're not. No, they're not. Because an entry level software developer coming out of college does not make very much far off from 100K. Right? And I know because I'm a hiring manager and I've been hiring people for close to 20 years. So I've had an opportunity to see how the market has progressed from wages from early 2000s to now. Right? So this whole notion that all you have to do is do AA, right? No. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 being successful does not mean you don't have to make Spider-Man. Does not mean that you don't have to make God of War. Does not mean that you don't have to make Ghost of Yotei. Because Ghost of Yotei had a $70 million budget. It has sold, I can't remember what was, I think at the last calculation, it was like in the 200 million. Project is profitable. A ton, tens of thousands of projects going to Steam, not profitable. So there's no way you can come through the calculus that all you have to do is smaller projects and you'll be successful, because that's statistically, objectively, mathematically not the case. Those were also multi-platform games. So again, Ghost of Yotei, $70 million budget. Project is profitable. Project exists on one platform. Project has accrued more revenue than tens of thousands of projects that went multi-platform. You've got 007, right? Delayed and coming out, and clearly, because we know hardware optimization is one of the last stages of project execution in game development. You clearly have a game, you have the team put out specs, right, for 007, saying you need an RTX 3060, but you need 12 gigabytes of VRAM. There is no 12 gigabyte of VRAM RTX 3060, right? So the team is trying to tell you something. They had delays, and now they're delaying further. They are clearly struggling with hardware optimization, trying to achieve a multi-platform release concurrent at launch. So again, these things are not simple math. Fair statement that we need diversity. Right, when you can cross-reference that with Piscatella's statement. Statements: 30% of gamers didn't buy games this year. 4% of gamers are the people who buy more than one game per month. 12%, I think, buy one game a year, or no, buy one game a month. 18% buy 2 games a year, so one game every 6 months. Something or other like that, right? So what does that mean? That means, as I am characterizing the PC hardware market and the Xbox demographic, it also means this for games in general. The very skinny part, right, of the bell curve, the lesser number of people are the people who are actually spending money and making the industry go. So if those people are buying AAA games, you need to make content for those people because those people spend money. It does not make sense to make content for the people, for the demographic that don't spend money. And the other thing that we can tell from the sales numbers is that the notion that the gaming market wants more AA and more indie is a lie, because what honestly happens is that they don't buy that content because of the numbers that I called out on Steam before. What they do is they buy the AAA content, but they wait for it to go on sale. So the fact is that what the market wants is they want the AAA games, right? But they're just either unable or unwilling to pay the price for them. So they wait until they're severely discounted. Or they wait and buy them 2 years later when their potato PCs can finally run them. Or they pirate them. On console, they wait for a sale. So it's not that there's a huge demand, an excessively high demand, a demand that exceeds AAA for AA and indie content. That is absolutely not the case. What the case is that the people want the AAA content, but the AAA content is too expensive for some of that demographic, and they're waiting. And that's why so many of them were angry when prices went to $70 and went to $80 after they were only $60 for 15 years, which was an unprecedented time, bathtub time in the industry.
Yeah. Yep. Let me finish this. Back to the article here. He says Hazelite certainly takes risks. In fact, the company's whole development ethos is to fuck shit up. The fuck shit up mentality without fucking up is important because we take things to the next level. He says we can explore if you're limited. If you're limited because of risk and being scared, it's not good for the game. So for us, it will always be like that, whatever the budget. With that said, obviously there's a responsibility. People need money to pay the rent, and there is responsibility who's paying for the budget and to actually deliver the milestone, to do a great game, to not slack, to do something really well. In order to truly fuck shit up, Hazelnut needs to wake up the creative monster in people, Ferris says. It's easier said than done because people put a lot of limitations on themselves. It's mainly coming from their mind. Once you stop listening to that, shit will start happening. And how do you do it? Well, first you practically push that person in a nice way. Obviously, you say, "Not this. Let's do that. That's been done before. Let's try this way." And eventually, they come into this fuck shit up mentality where they're like, "Okay, there are no limits." And then you make the person feel confident that there are really no limits. People have so many possibilities inside them, and that's not only for creating games, but in general, it just stop listening to this, points to his head, and just feel it instead. So let's see here. Anything else that, because I know you watched the live interview. Anything else stand out to you for that from that interview, Logic?
I think the main thing that stood out to me, not particularly that he specifically said, but like just the fact that he said some things. We have statements that come from people who assert that the reason that they're right is because they talk to developers. And yet these developers that they stake their validity on, right, of their perspective, are never named, are never identified, are never on screen on a podcast. And they are often, admittedly, by the description of the people who make these claims and assertions, people who are not decision makers. They don't run P&L. They don't make the calls. They're not involved, right? They're not in the conference room during the strategy discussions. We have statements from people in the industry who say them on camera, who say them quoted, who are identified. And yet these statements are frequently refuted, right? They're performative. They're just doing it for image sake. I'm like, at a certain point, the voice track for people who say things on the record holds more weight than your undisclosed sources, right? You're not Lois Lane, right? You're not an investigative journalist, right? You're not on Hardball or Dateline. Let's calm the flip down, right? At a minimum, it should be acknowledged that the weights are at least equal and should be equally taken into consideration to give a 360-degree holistic picture instead of these Darth Maul, absolutist, singular binary, the bid is either on or off, and those are the only two possibility statements that constantly get made every single week.
That's a great point, Logic.
I mean, we need diversity. We need AAA. We need AA. We need indies, right? And we need people. I hate to say it, like we need a demographic of the market that buys those games at full price, right? I'm not Game Pass shaming anybody, right? But what you need to understand is that the total cash flow that's coming to a developer, right, is more when their game successfully sells through.
Yeah, I think was one other thing that was kind of interesting too, Logic. So I was reading this. Talks about how the industry's so young, like in comparison to like movies, television, right? I mean, like gaming's only been around since what, the 70s?
I hate to say it, this is what one of the reasons why I love this interview is because he literally corroborates things that I've been saying for years. Right? I've made these statements where like people always like the game industry, that's the game industry. I'm like, cable has been around like for significantly longer. It didn't go away because of video streaming, right? It didn't go away because of the cloud. So why is it that you think that the entirety of the rest of the gaming industry is going to be obliterated by cloud enablement? Because that didn't happen in the video space.
I mean, movies didn't disappear when televisions became
right
feature sets within homes, and television shows became more prominent. Like it just didn't. Like,
and that's it's not to say that they don't encounter headwinds, that they don't encounter challenges, right? But the problem is that
goes back. Well, that by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. That goes back to the point about the coverage around the dips in hardware sales year over year. The sky's falling.
Yeah, and the fact that we need diversity, right? We need just like we need multiple access points, just like I constantly rant that we need. Like we also get this narrative every week. There needs to be this one business model, right? No, we can't have walled gardens. We can't have no. We can. We have it in other technology spaces, and it works. We literally have people spending billions of dollars buying compute, and they buy walled garden compute from Apple, They buy proprietary licensed compute from Microsoft. And these days, more and more, they're buying truly open, not faux open, not bullshit open, not content creator labeled open, not falsified, lied, and extrapolated open, because Microsoft is not an open system. Windows is not an open system. It is proprietary license. Everything that moves money, that cuts across the Windows fabric, makes money for Microsoft. So please stop with the rhetoric, right? But more and more today, people are buying Linux, right? And that model works. In the cell phone space, we have walled garden, we have Apple, we have open, we have AOSP, and people do buy actual open Android handsets. And we have Google services at Android, right? And people buy flavors of all three, and that works. So I fail to understand why we just can't have the same thing, right? In the console space, it doesn't make sense to be arguing for a monolithic singular business model that is one size fits all that everyone should conform to. What makes sense is what Joseph Fair said, which is that we need diversity, right? We need different business models. We need different platform approaches. We need different types of content. We need multiple access points. Those are the things that benefit consumers, not the stuff that people have been talking about since the acquisition.
That's a great point, Logic. And a singular business model doesn't benefit us. Just as Ferris is saying, one type of game doesn't benefit us. There needs to be diversity.
Yeah, like when did consumers get benefited in music? We damn sure didn't get benefited when there was a singular business model, right? That all artists went through a publisher and all music was put out on CDs. And then your only other access point was to pay the money for the ticket to go to a live performance. That was the singular business model for music that everyone had to conform to. There wasn't anything else allowed. Right? When did it become more consumer friendly and more beneficial? When we started having the other business model of streaming services. Right? When, quite frankly, even before that, when digital came along and Steve Jobs enabled purchase of a la carte digital music for 99 cents. That was beneficial. It further became beneficial when we broke down some of the barriers that were there for DRM. Like, all of these things have transpired before. All of these things have worked before. I fail to understand why there are pundits, right, and content creators with narratives who insist that that things need to be one way. The fact is, because they're not pundits and content creators. They're actually socialists who disagree with capitalist economic systems and markets.
I was going to say they're corporate mouthpieces, but yeah, I agree with that too.
Well, that too. The problem is that the corporation is not socialist. The corporation is capitalist. And they're getting you guys to run around like yokel revolutionaries and Branch Davidians spewing rhetoric, right, and religious dogma on their behalf.
I know you didn't say Branch Davidians.
They're capitalists concerned about their bonus and their golden parachutes when this is all over.
Yep.
That's what they're concerned about. They're not concerned about this kumbaya, touchy-feely, total quality leadership, total quality management, empathetic, gamers first, revolution. Let's all storm the Bastille and tear down like the walls at PlayStation. Mm-hmm. That's not what they're actually about.
Mm-mm.
Sorry, I guess we had a little church tonight, a little impromptu.
Yeah, a little impromptu sermon. No, that's totally fine. Totally fine. Well, I like that. Again, you're right. Like, cable television's been around. Streaming didn't kill it. Entertainment's always evolving. But I agree with you. That's a great point, Logic, about the different distribution channels of gaming, the different types of games, the fact that those things ultimately, benefit gamers. And instead you have one group that's arguing for one specific model, for all gamers. And it's like, no, that's actually not beneficial for consumers. Like, and why would we argue those things? Why would we argue less choice?
And more importantly, there are those of us who don't want it. So stop trying to legislate and dictate what consumers who are not you want. You guys aren't consumer advocates. You guys run around saying, I'm a consumer advocate. I always, will speak out for the consumer. No, you're not, because there are a bunch of us who don't want that, right? There are a bunch of us who want quality protected. There are a bunch of us who want the high end of the spectrum protected. There are those of us who want highly performant hardware, right? We want our 165 frames per second. We want our 120 frames per second.
We want our games to be optimized, coded to the metal for the $500 we spent on that particular console, that box.
Right. So stop saying that you're speaking for the consumer when you're not. You're just speaking for your own political party.
Corey Masters says, tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev.
And look, if people wanted to walk across the DMZ and cross the line into your country, they could do so. There's nothing stopping them. They can make that choice. That's what a free market is.
And that's the fallacy, acting as if there's no choice.
Exactly.
I hate when I see, oh, you're forced. No, you're not forced. You don't have to do it. You don't have to buy it. Yeah, you have a choice. You either buy, you don't buy. You might not like those choices, but it's still a choice.
Yeah. Exclusives lock you in. No, they don't. People made a conscious choice. Anybody who's there because they didn't make a conscious choice, that's their own stupidity and their own problem, not empathetic. Right? But I buy Apple knowing that I'm locked in. Why? Because it's high quality stuff. Because it gets me the things that I want. Because when I was on Android, I'm constantly futzing around trying to come up with solutions, right, to solve problems. Whereas I pick up my iPhone, it just works. It just sees my Mac Mini, right, and allows me to airdrop my photos to it, right, without having to go through a bunch of chicanery and shenanigans. Can I do that on Linux? Yeah, there's a way for me to get to it, but it's a pain in the ass. But is Linux available for other consumers to go buy? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the world that we need to live in.
That's a great point, Logic. Great way to end the show, by the way. Yeah, we did go to church a little bit today. All right. All right, Logic. Anything else you might want to discuss before we wrap up? I'm not sure if there's anything else you might want to discuss.
Gotta wipe my brow and drink some water.
Exactly. And I want to get back to Red Dead Redemption 2. So I do need to download the demo for Dragon Quest 7. I don't know if I'll get to that this weekend. Yeah, you gotta Chopper Eric says you gotta hydrate. So well, I want to first I want to thank everyone in the live chat for coming by, hanging out with us this evening. Really appreciate the support as always. Do me a favor, do the YouTube thing, hit the like button. If you do, consider subscribing and hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Also want to thank my co-host here, Game Logic. Logic, always a pleasure. Corey Massey's not happy about your Android slander, by the way. I don't disagree with you, Corey. Logic, I don't. Again, go ahead.
It's actually not slander towards Android. It's like there's my point. There's positive reasons to buy Android, right? And my point is that you have a choice, right? We don't need to dictate to people that they have to buy one way, that they should only buy one way. It's just it's so weird that the political party that jumps up and down in support of Phil Spencer and his statement that you can get it through Game Pass, or you can buy it, or I'm actually going to now put it on another platform, right? We don't care how you access it. We give you choice. We give you multiple ways. So I don't understand why it's so hard for them to acknowledge that there are other business models, right, that maybe limit people's choice, but the point is that they have the choice to choose that limit, that it's a conscious choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're being lied to. It's not like they're being falsely advertised. It's not like they have a corporate exec going out saying, this is an Xbox and you can play your Xbox games on it, when that really isn't the case. Right? The other vendors aren't doing that. The other vendors are very clear. This is a PlayStation 5. This is a Switch 2. Here's the backwards compatibility list. So you are laser clear on what you can play and what you can't play. Oh, do we say it's not a PlayStation 5 because it can't play PlayStation 3 games? No, we put out a backwards compatibility list and we told you it couldn't play PlayStation 3 games. Do you not want it? Fine, don't buy it. We're not holding you at gunpoint or twisting your arm. You can go buy an Xbox if backwards compatibility, ubiquitous backwards compatibility, 100% backwards compatibility, is that important to you? And what the market said was, yes, it's important, super important to 30 million of us. 80 million of us don't give a shit. Right? Like that's the math. The aliens understand it.
The aliens understand it. They understand the universal language. Corey wants to know if we pass around the collection plates now. Yeah, that would be in the form of super chats. But that's funny. All right, Logic. Again, I'll ask you. I ask this every week. I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, what you guys can do is if you want to swing by this channel on YouTube called Rounding Off Infinity, I am posting a news focused show there periodically called Gaming Outside the Algorithm. If you want additional news and additional gaming industry analysis that is not platform centric, that is not influenced by the gaming conversation on Twitter, that is a thing you can go check out.
Awesome. Thank you, Logic. And you can find me here every Wednesday night with Game Logic, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Twitter or X at BRAP_podcast. And yeah, again, want to thank everyone for watching. Appreciate it. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And we'll be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, we'll catch you next time. Thank you again for watching.